Okay, welcome in. I did say I was going to do this on Tuesday, but I'd rather get it over Thursday morning. This way, it doesn't look like I'm cheating if I predict the right team after the game is over. So, welcome to week two. Last week, out of the 16 games, I went 13 and three, so not too bad. And I will take a look at my week two predictions for the NFL season. All 32 teams are in action, so therefore, there are no bye weeks just yet. So tonight we have the Thursday night matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Commanders. This is going to be um, unlike any other season opener. It may have happened before, but obviously the anniversary of 9/11, 14 years, 24 years, I should say, after that uh, unfortunate set of events. So I guarantee they will have some type of a presentation tonight honoring all of the victims in that tragedy from almost a quarter century away. It's amazing and crazy how much time flies because it felt like 9/11 was just yesterday, but it's been 24 years since then. So I'm sure they'll have some type of a ceremony. Now, on to the actual game. So both these teams are sitting at 1 and 0 respectively. I'm going to give the edge to the Packers. They just seem to have that it factor. And when you have Josh Jacobs on in your back, and as long as Jordan Love is healthy, he's playing good, then I feel like they have a really good chance of pulling this one off at Lambeau, and they should improve to 2 and 0. The rest of the games take place on Sunday and Monday, respectively. Starting in the top left hand corner, we have a battle in the AFC North as two teams are still looking for their first win in the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to give the edge to Baltimore in this one. They nearly pulled off a victory last week against the Bills. Unfortunately, they had a collapse and obviously the fumble, and then they would end up losing by 1 point, which is crazy because had they made one of their field goals after the touchdown, it would have went to overtime, and who knows what would have happened after that. So a heartbreaking loss for the Baltimore Ravens. I believe they're going to be refocused, and they should improve to 1 and 1 after their tilt with the Browns. All right, now we're off to Cincinnati as we have the Bengals 1-0 and the Jacksonville Jaguars 1-0. Both these teams started off the season with a victory apiece. I'm going to give the edge to the Bengals in this one. I think that they are going to be a very competitive team, and I believe they'll give the Ravens a run for their money for that AFC North crown. No disrespect to Pittsburgh. They could possibly pull one out of their hat as well and end up winning the division, but I think it's still way too early, and the heavily favorites have to be the Ravens and the Bengals to get that division. And if one of them happens to not get it, the other should get a wild card spot. So you're looking at least two teams just right there in a playoff position. I know it's early, but they're heavily favored, in my opinion, to both get in this year. So I'll give the edge to the Bengals. The New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, both these teams are 0 and 1. I believe Dallas should have a better game, and they will more than likely get their first win of the season. Although, if Russ is cooking with the Giants, he didn't look so hot last week against the Commanders. It's a flip of a coin, but I think the favorite should be the Dallas Cowboys, and they should get their first win of the season over their NFC East rival. Speaking of division rivals, we have a good one in Detroit as we have the Lions taking on the Chicago Bears. Now, if Detroit plays like they did last week, then Chicago will more than likely get the victory in this one. It was just amazing of how far they've fallen from grace. Now, granted, that was just week one of the season. They could easily have a bounce back game, and they should get the victory. So I am going to predict Detroit gets this. Um, but if you fall down 0-2 I know it's still early, but then you got to get 2 wins in a row just to get back to 500. And by that time, other teams could be 3-1 or 4-0. So you got to play catch up pretty quick. It is a very short season, even though it is 18 weeks. Trust me, it'll fly by. January will be here before you know it. So yeah, I'm going to give the edge to the Lions. Another division matchup as we have the Miami Dolphins taking on the New England Patriots. Both these teams starting off 0 and 1. The Patriots looked good in the first half against the Raiders last week. Unfortunately, they collapsed in the second half, and the Dolphins didn't even look like they showed up in Indy. They made Daniel Jones look like an MVP quarterback. He had 3 passing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. He was unreal. He had a rejuvenance in Indy after being subpar in New York. So I'm sure the Dolphins, they want to get the victory. They knew they should have won last week. I'm pretty sure they were the favorite, if I'm not mistaken. But the turnovers, sacks, they got to try and cut those down or out specifically. Their offense didn't really have much of a rhythm last week. But I'm just going to pick Miami just for the sake that they need to win, because if they drop to 0-2, that's two tough losses to start the season off. And again, if either if the Bills happen to win, then they'll be 2 games back of them. So it'll be tough to play catch up, in my opinion. All right, the bottom right side of your screen, you have the San Francisco 49ers and the New Orleans Saints. Now, heading into this matchup, I would have had San Fran, no questions, no ands, ifs, or buts. They would win this one by a landslide. But due to injuries and Brock Purdy now being out for 2 to 5 weeks, that's 6 games, maybe 7 games, depending on when their bye is, that they'll be without their star quarterback. So I'm going to say this might be an upset, but if it really is an upset, it's not going to be that big because of the injuries for the 49ers. But I'll give the edge to the Saints. I don't know why. Like, San Fran could easily get a victory and they could roll over the Saints. But if there's going to be an upset this week, I'll give it to the Saints. How about that? All right. Now we'll take a look at the next set of games. So on the top left corner of your screen, you have the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. I'm going to give the edge to the Bills. They had an amazing Week 1 victory over the Ravens. A 15-point comeback, and with 4 minutes to go, it was unreal. The Jets didn't look that great. I mean, they were leading late in the game. Unfortunately, they lost at a last-second field goal to the Steelers. So they showed up at times, but I think this is the Bills. They're just getting ready to steamroll this division again. They want to be the best of the best. So I will give the edge to Buffalo in this matchup. Now, speaking of the Steel City, they are playing an NFC opponent, the Seattle Seahawks. The Steelers obviously winning against the Jets last week. The Seahawks losing to the 49ers in their season opener. I'm going to say the edge goes to Pittsburgh. I know I wasn't that hot on Aaron Rodgers heading into this season, especially after he had a mediocre season last year. I mean, he had an okay season, but nothing to write home about, and he is not in his prime. You can tell that age is catching up to him. This is not the 3-time MVP. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he won the MVP 3 times from the 2010s. Maybe you could consider the early 2020s, because I think he did win 2, if I'm not mistaken, in this decade. But there's something about Mike Tomlin and that offense. I don't think it matters who they have at quarterback. I mean, granted, he was gifted Ben Roethlisberger for a number of years, and then he still somehow manages to pull a rabbit out of his hat no matter who the quarterback is. Last year they had Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Before that they had Mason Rudolph. So it's crazy the amount of quarterbacks that they've gone through since Big Ben's retired. But I think they'll pull this one out, and they'll be 2-0. They'll probably be a surprise team. I didn't really have that much high expectation or hopes. Now, granted, it's only going to be week 2, so there's still 15 more games to go respectively. But if the Steelers end up being above 500 by the end of the season, it's not a fluke. All right, now we have the Tennessee Titans taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The Titans came off a pretty rough outing against the Broncos last week, and the Rams got a victory in their season opener. I believe they should get the win in Tennessee. I'm hoping that maybe Cam Ward, I mean, he was the first overall pick, so there's obviously going to be high expectations for this guy, that he should get his first passing touchdown in this one. But I think the Rams, especially with the veteran Matt Stafford at the QB, you can't really bet against him. And the Rams should improve to 0-2, but I'm hoping at least Cam Ward, if he can't get the win, at least get his first career touchdown out of the way. All right, now we're off to Arizona, where we have the Cardinals taking on the Panthers. Arizona got a Week 1 victory. The Panthers, unfortunately, suffered a Week 1 loss. I'm going to give the edge to Arizona. I think Arizona's got a little chip on their shoulder. They're still trying to prove that they should be in the conversation as a favorite to win that division, because in my opinion, the NFC West is wide open. It could be the Rams, it could be the Seahawks, it could be the 49ers, it could be the Cardinals. I know it's a long shot, but it's been, I think, 2 or 3 seasons since the Cardinals have made the postseason, so they want to try to end that drought. And as long as Kyler Murray is healthy and plays very well, or at least better than consistent, then they got a chance game after game. So I will give the edge to the home team. I believe Arizona should win against the Panthers. Okay, so now we got a couple of 2 o'clock games. I should have mentioned the Arizona is also a 2 o'clock game, so that's my bad. The Indianapolis Colts are playing host to the Denver Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos are my team. I'm going to pick them, of course. I'm biased. If I wasn't a Broncos fan, I'd say Indy probably could pull off this one. But that Broncos defense is scary. And if they were on any other team, I'd say they were the best defense in the league. But I mean, 6 sacks, one from each player. It's not like you had 2 or 3 guys just getting 2 or 3 sacks apiece. So it's been a group effort. So I know Daniel Jones had a breakout game against the Dolphins. I just don't see that happening against this Denver defense. My only concern would be for Bo Nix. If he has another 2 interception game, or he gets sacked and loses it and fumbles the ball away, then it could be putting our defense in a bad situation. So as long as they have a better running game than they did last week, or at least a more consistent running game, they should get the victory against the Colts and improve to 2-0. But again, if turnovers end up hurting the Broncos and Bo Nix, then I could easily see Andy taking advantage of that, especially if it's in like the Denver side of the ball, a field, I should say. Then that could lead to some points for the Colts if they're not mistaken. All right, now I think the next game is possibly going to be the game of the week, as we have a rematch from the Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Chiefs coming off a Week 1 loss to the Chargers, and it's crazy to think that Mahomes has been in the league for now 8 seasons at least. No, because he came in, he was a rookie in 2017-18. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, this is going to be his 8th season as a quarterback, 7th as a starter. And he's only lost twice in Week 1 in that 8-year span. 6-2 is his record in Week 1, so it was a rare loss for him. Now, granted, they didn't play in the States. I'm pretty sure they played in Brazil. It's kind of neat, in my opinion, how they're having games outside the States. It's obviously try to get more interest in fans, but I just think that's really neat. They get to experience an NFL game, a meaningful NFL game. It's not like they're going over there to play exhibitions. Like, these are crucial games. But this is back in North America, the States, I should say. So it's going to be the Chiefs' home opener, and they're taking on, obviously, the defending Super Bowl champs and the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is going to be a slugfest. I want to say these teams are probably going to put up 20 points apiece, maybe 30. They both have a very good offensive. I mean, they both have perks on offense. Obviously, you got Mahomes, and I don't think it matters who his receivers are. He'll find you. If you get open, he'll find you. And obviously, he has the better veteran tight end in Travis Kelce, his best mate. So I feel like they should be targeted a few times. And for the Philly, if Saquon can run for another 67 yards, maybe even get his first 100-yard rushing yard game of the season, oh my God, then maybe Philly can pull this one off. They don't seem to throw the ball as much as you would think. They're definitely a run-heavy offense, to say the least. And obviously, Jalen Hurts can be a mobile quarterback. He seems to be more running than he is throwing it. And if he can throw a few more deep bombs, maybe do a couple play actions, get A.J. Brown a catch or two so he's not reading the book on the sideline, then they could be a dangerous team again this year. I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I can't stand the Chiefs. I wish they could go 0-17. That would be a perfect season, in my opinion. But it's just because I'm a Broncos fan. But I feel like if you're a Raiders and a Chargers fan, you might also agree. You're just tired of seeing one team being so dominant, and they happen to be in your division. But I think they'll pull this one off. Both these teams should be at 1-1 apiece. Now, Philly could easily go into Kansas City and prove me wrong, and maybe some other doubters. But I think the Chiefs should get their first win of the 2025 campaign. All right, the final 3 games. We have the Sunday night matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to give the edge to J.J. McCarthy. I was very impressed in his NFL debut, Week 1, against the Bears. That late comeback, and I think they said he was the first quarterback to throw 3 passing touchdowns in the fourth quarter as a rookie. I mean, of all time. No one's ever done that, I guess. Or maybe I'm pretty sure it's whatever it is. Whether it's a rookie stat or an overall stat, either way, that's very impressive. The Falcons, they played okay against the Bucks, but I think the Bucks got that division. I really think they should be the favorites for the NFC South, which means the Falcons will likely be on the outside looking in unless they can push for a wild card spot. Um, but I got a lot of faith in the Vikings, and that is a crazy stacked division too. Granted, the Lions lost, but the Vikings and Packers, they're still undefeated. I believe both those teams should come away with home victories, which would improve them both to 2-0. And then if Detroit happens to win, I think those are the three teams. One of those three teams are more than likely going to come out of that division as champions. For the Bears, it's just they're kind of like the Raiders of the AFC West. They're just in a very good division where all three teams are likely going to finish ahead of them in the standings. And there's a good chance two, maybe three of those teams make it into the postseason again. It's just that good of a division. But yeah, I'm going to give the edge to the Vikings in this matchup. They should win the Sunday night game coming up. All right, now here we go. The final two games on Monday nights. The first one is an interconference matchup between the Houston Texans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Texans coming off a Week 1 loss. The Buccaneers obviously won against the Falcons to start the season off 1-0. I'm going to give the edge to Baker and the Bucs in this contest. The Texans, granted, should win, and they're still the favorite, in my opinion, to come out of the AFC South. No disrespect to the rest of the teams, but they've been back-to-back champs for a reason. I would not be surprised if C.J. Stroud had a bounce-back game, and maybe the Texans use the home field advantage to their advantage and pull out a victory. I would not be surprised if they won against the Bucs, but I just think the Buccaneers, they are the favorite in this matchup. They're the more consistent team. There's a reason they've won the division 4 straight years in a row. They're just a remarkable team, and there's nothing else you can say about them. So yeah, I'll give the edge to Tampa Bay in the first of the two Monday night games. Now the last one is an AFC West Division matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers. Both these teams started off 1-0. The Raiders had a rocky start against the Patriots last week, but in the second half, they were the more dominant team, came away with the victory, and obviously the Chargers defeating the heavily favored Kansas City Chiefs in Brazil to start off 1-0. This is a tough one. I think this will probably go down to the wire. I would not be surprised if this game was separated by like a field goal or two. The Chargers are a very good team. The Raiders are they're not in rebuild mode anymore. Like they are slowly gravitating. I would not be surprised if one of these years they competed for a playoff spot. I don't think they're there just yet. It was a great Week 1 victory. Unless they happen to surprise us all, who knows? But when you have the Chiefs, the Chargers, I think those are the top two teams you're looking at. The Broncos likely finish third, and so therefore the Raiders would be put at the bottom. And I just talked about this with the Bears of the NFC North. If these two teams were in any other division, they would probably have a better shot at winning. But it's just unfortunate for both the Bears and the Raiders that they happen to have 2 to 3 really good teams in that division. I'm going to give the edge to Los Angeles. Justin Herbert is a fantastic quarterback. I wish he was on my team, but it's not the case. He's an amazing quarterback. He's had obviously 2 successful seasons, bringing the Chargers to the playoffs. Unfortunately, he got bounced in the wild card round in both of those matchups. I'm sure he would love to have a taste of the divisional round. And when you have a future Hall of Fame head coach in Jim Harbaugh, I should say, calling the shots, he's had success everywhere he goes, pretty much. Obviously, he had all that success at Michigan when he was the college football, and I'm pretty sure he came away with a championship, if not mistaken. And he turned that franchise around, and he did the same thing with the 49ers. He took them to a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they fell short against the Ravens, and he seems like he's doing it again with the Chargers. Like, they should be a competitive team. It could be the Chargers that win the AFC West. I'm not trying to exaggerate or trying to knock the Chiefs down, but the Chargers are a very good team. And that's coming from a Broncos fan. Anyways, sorry, I'm started rambling, and then my screen locked up, so that's my bad. But I will give the edge, like I said, to the Los Angeles Chargers in this matchup, and then it should be a very entertaining weekend of football. What do you guys think? Who are you guys rooting for? What are your thoughts about the predictions so far? As I said at the very beginning, I did a 13-3 win-to-loss ratio last week. We'll see if I can have yet another above 500 record once this weekend is over. On Tuesday morning, I will have a video uploaded for the Week 2 reviews, and likely do a week 3 preview that same day. My phone keeps shutting off, so I'm going to end the video and I'll shut off myself. Alrighty, guys, until next time, and as always, take care.